Paramerican Radio starts right now.
And hello to the very first podcast of Paramerican Radio, filmed in our brand new offices here in the Water Garden in Santa Monica. I am your host, Chad Calek, alongside with my best friend, the Juice Man, the Human Hobbit, hosting. As this goes on, you'll see that I love making funny jokes about Justin Holstein, our co-host here, about him being short. See, the irony of the actual joke is Justin isn't that short. He's like 5'10", he's almost 6 foot tall, right? I think so. But his entire life, he just seems short. He has a short, like, little bitch guy walk, you know? He just does. And
dude, so I've been explaining he's having a strut. The ladies say I have a strut.
He has a strut. And I am also hanging out with our wingman, our third co-host when we don't have guests, Steve Tinder Zilberman, we call him, because he is a Tinder beast. And Steve will be sitting in and playing the role of our guest, which is kind of funny because it's his job to monitor the audio and the sound here to make sure we're looking and sounding our best. First things first. Wow. Our office here, I guess I should say our Paramerican Radio studio, is mind-blowing. I want to give a huge shout-out to Thomas Lee Bottom, executive producer, for making sure that we have a top-notch studio to bring our thoughts and ideas to the world. Thomas, much love. Wish you were here, brother. And, I can't really take much credit for this, at all. I mean, we all went shopping for the posters and stuff, but the general idea, Justin kind of day one said, I got this idea about making it look kind of like a street in Los Angeles. And he came, and the lighting that you see here, Justin did all himself. Justin, I'm impressed. How long did it take you to actually do all this?
Dude, it was, I was telling Steve, it was like a Pilates class, man. Because you just saw me right there, right? Just trying to adjust the light.
Yeah.
I didn't have a ladder in here. And so I got done that next day, dude. I was so sore. I could hardly, my shoulders, my back, my legs. It's like I just got beat up or something. And it just from standing on one leg, reaching over. Yeah. You're like, and it took a while. And I was thinking the whole time, dude, you would have been freaked out because this place was covered, these ceiling tiles, these movable ceiling tiles, dropped these little white things. And this place was covered in white things. And it was a mess because there was wires, and it did not look this pretty, dude. It looked like a catastrophe. I knew it was going to look good when we got done. And I'm thinking, I'm so glad Chad's not here right now.
Well, for those of you just listening to the audio version of Paramerican Radio, I do invite you to become a subscriber to the video version, which is on YouTube. Simply my YouTube page, which is youtube.com/AGHChad. Again, it's free to subscribe, and you can see the office that we're in right now. And just to point out, it's not that I'm like, some lazy fuck that just didn't want to help Justin out. What we've learned a long time ago is that there are just certain processes that I'm not good at and things that Justin is good at. And we learned that when we try to do them together, it damn near comes to blows. So it's just easier if I go do what I do well and Justin does what he does well. So, and I have to say, Justin, you did a very fine job.
Thanks. And back to the props to Thomas. It's, dude, how long we've been trying to do things, but we finally got to the point where somebody believed enough to back and say, hey, what kind of colors do you need to make your painting here? What kind of palette do you want,
Yeah.
And, man, talk about how much easier it can make life to actually, and how faster you can get to the finish line.
Well, the faster is the key. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you just get, you have these ideas and these things that will work, and you get the chance to go after them. So, again, I can't stress that enough. Thank you, Thomas, for your support. We're going to kill it for you, man. Absolutely. And Mr. Zilberman, Steve Tinder Zilberman, has just returned America, and this is a true story. Steve took a vacation with his best friend, as what he described to me as on the phone. He's like, it's kind of like I don't know, this may sound stupid, but it's a best friends vacation. I'm like, so you and your buddy are going somewhere to celebrate being best friends? And he's like, yeah, kind of. And where do they go? Medellin, Colombia, in which Steve started telling me all about the place, which I don't dare take your honors, Steve. Tell me about Medellin. And for those of you watching Narcos on Netflix, yes, that Medellin. That is where Steve went. So tell me about it, man.
Let me just start with, we got robbed and extorted by the Colombian police. And I was well aware that this happens there. And I don't know if like the viewers out there listening, but cocaine is legal there up to a gram. So a gram and under you can legally do. You can't buy and sell, but you
can do it though. You can do it on the street. I can just suck a bump. I'm good.
You could.
Wow.
You could. And and I was well aware of this. So I didn't carry more money than I needed. I didn't carry, especially American money. You don't want to be carrying dollars there.
Right, because you can get robbed anytime. Right.
Well, robbed by the police. That's who you look for.
Wow.
And sure enough, we got pulled over, searched. They found a gram of cocaine.
Straight up, I'm going to ask you the question everybody wants to know. Real simple, Steve. Did you do some fucking blow?
I did. I legally did blow responsibly, and I paid.
I don't think anybody's done blow responsibly.
Well, I just want to point this out. I'm going to give you a pass on this. Obviously, I don't support the use of cocaine, but if I went, I don't really smoke weed, right? I mean, I totally support it being legal. If I went to Amsterdam, I'm not going to go there and not smoke weed, right? That's kind of like the point of going to Amsterdam. Same thing with I don't support prostitution. But how do you go to Amsterdam and not visit that district? You know what I mean? Same thing. You
don't go to France without trying the cheese.
So you did. You went there, and you and your friends got extorted by police. You're doing blow. What was that like? See, the reason why I love having Steve around us is I'm 40, and I think Justin, you're a couple years older than me.
Yeah.
Steve you're 25, right? Steve's from the Midwest. He packed up his shit, moved here, and he's trying to make it, in the game. And he's I can say this, Steve's exceptionally talented. We all believe that. And I've walked your path. You know what I mean? So I get to live kind of vicariously through Steve again. I mean, before Steve went to Colombia, you were just overseas. Well, first you were in Australia with us. Before that, you were in London? England?
London, Amsterdam. Yep.
And then you were somewhere in Russia for a while.
Israel. Oh, before that, Ukraine, Poland.
Yeah.
And then
so he comes back and he pretty much tells me before he goes to Medellin, I got robbed or something in Vegas. I've got no money. I'm just so fucking broke. And with $50 in his pocket, he's off to another country. You know what I mean? And there was a time where I would totally do that. I was that guy. You were that guy. You know what I mean? Fuck it. We ain't got shit. We'll live for the moment. We'll figure it out. As you get older, not so much. I mean, I'm to the point now where it's just listen, when it comes to traveling to a place, I need to have a bed. I know where my next meal's coming from, So I love living vicariously through you. I got to ask you, dude, how was the Tinder in Medellin?
I was like a rock star on Tinder.
For those who don't know, Tinder. I mean, there are going to be some older people who might even know what this is. It's a dating app, right?
It is, but that's a very nice way to say it. There are dating apps. Yeah. This app specifically has a reputation for being a fuck app. Yeah, right.
There's an age group, but that's what you're interested in, just hooking up. You get to the point where you're better at doing relationships later in life. Right. Some people, but I think that's what all of us kind of did. Everybody goes to that
I wonder
phase.
what that would have been like, Justin, if it had been our college age, 21, 22, 23, and Tinder existed. Holy cow.
Easy.
I mean, easy.
You guys have to work for it. I swipe right, and there it is.
My God.
I swipe right.
Yeah, it's that easy, man.
That's awesome. Well, it seems like it would be easy because there's a fundamentally mutually agreed upon, understanding of what swipe right means. You know what I mean? Hey, bloop,
Yeah.
I'll do you. You know what I mean? It's kind of a way of asking that and getting the answer up front before you ever commit time. You know what I mean? Would you do me? Yep. Bloop, swipe right. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
I
crazy.
find it's interesting how they do the whole group thing too. You know, Steve, what you were talking about, how you and your friends get on it as a group.
Yeah.
And then you can get a girl group.
Right. Well, it's okay. So it's basically starting a party. You know, we advertise like, oh, house party, and all these like groups of girls are like, yeah, we want to come, and we get 2-3 groups of girls that come, and it's not really a party until those few groups of girls come, and instantly turns into a party. You know, you don't have to advertise all the. What I've heard, you know, from you guys, you don't have to advertise all the hot women in front of the window to get people in your house.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was talking another time about like when we had parties in college. We knew like the first thing is people drive by, and if nobody's there, nobody comes in, right? But if you take, you know, you get some of your friends, close friends, their girlfriends, maybe one of your girlfriends, and just say, guys, stand in front of the windows and stuff. So when people drive by, they just see hot women in front of the windows, and they're thinking, dude,
That's a Justin thing. I never did that. And I had some crazy parties in college. I had naked parties. Am I lying, Justin? I had parties where I would tell people free beer all night long. Gotta show up naked. Fucking worked. Justin actually showed up to one of my naked parties one time. I've never seen him so uncomfortable in my life. He was not naked.
Well, the big thing is it's kind of like this, and you know this now because you don't drink. When you're around people that are drunk and you're not,
Right.
you know. So when I showed up sober and people are drunk and naked. That's double whammy, dude. It's really weird. It's like, whoa, I feel very uncomfortable.
You know what was bizarre about that? It was like, after about 15 minutes, it truly became like nothing. Everyone was just naked. It was a shared and accepted thing. It's just, you didn't, like, no one walked up and went, you know, nice cock. You know what I mean? It was nothing like that. It was just like an accepted thing. Everybody kind of, I think everybody kind of, you know, took their initial 5 minutes to look around, you know, how does she actually look? You know, how hung is that dude? You know what I mean? Like but yeah, after 5 minutes, life was normal. It was the same as any other party that you would host. That's the crazy thing about it. You would think it would be like dramatically different. No, it was like any other party you go to, except you were naked. That was it. That was freaking it. So, yeah, it was pretty crazy. So, Steve, you got extorted. You know, you had a great time. You just smashed it on Tinder, right?
Smashed.
I love that he's just straight up about it. Smashed it.
Yeah.
God bless you. That's awesome. Good on you. Well, cool. Well, this brings us to our next segment for you first-time listeners. You know, how this, podcast basically works is, you know, we always spend a little bit of time telling you what we've been up to, you know, who we are, that type of thing. And when we have guests on, you get to know a little bit about them before we get into our bizarre kind of reports from around the world, weird things that have happened. And, we're definitely going to get into that. There's some really crazy weird shit going on in Antarctica, the South Pole, that we're going to get into later on. We also have a little segment that is like current events, non-bizarre, non-paranormal stuff, just what's going on in the world. We got some movie reviews, fan questions, things like that. Yeah. Now, the fan questions, just so you know, I preemptively went to my social media and said, hey, guys, let me know what questions you have. So we had a stack of them ready to go when we did this. But this is going to be a unique episode because I was talking to my wife about the show and just how excited I was and these different guests that I wanted to get. And Laura brought up, Laura's my wife, she brought up a good point. She said, you should do an episode where basically, you're the guest, where Justin, pretty much has the opportunity to ask you any questions he wants, or even Steve does. She's like, you can't assume everybody knows who you are. And that's absolutely true. I mean, I know we have a following of people because I truly believe we have the best fans in the world, man. But obviously there's, way more people don't know who you are than do. So you don't want to pretend like everybody knows you. And I shouldn't assume that. So my thought was, okay, so I would be the guest. How would I do this? So Justin would interview me, and I came up with an idea. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give Justin the chance to ask me anything he wants at all. But I will also task him with, giving me a question that he believes the answer will demonstrate to our audience who Chad Calek is as a person. And I'll field some of those questions, knowing that I will, return the favor and tip the scales and do the same thing with him in a forthcoming podcast. But it would be a cool way to just kind of, I don't know, I guess tell the world about who I am. I don't know what's interesting about me and what isn't, because I'm me, so I don't know what to throw out there. So I think this is kind of a cool way to say, hey, world, this is who I am. I'm the guy behind the mic on this show. So that's the task, Justin. And Steve, if you'd like, feel free to ask me any questions that you want, starting right now.
I think what I was kind of toiling through my head here was maybe a good thing would be to start first where we are.
Right
kind of
now.
give an overview, because then it'll be interesting to find out how we got there.
How we got here.
As we sit here in this studio today, accomplished a lot of the dream. Dude, I remember when I was a kid, my big dream was doing all this stuff. I didn't think it was possible. And here we are, Hulu, HBO next door, Universal Pictures. We're in the central mecca, man. And it dawned on me the other day coming in the office. We have an office.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of it all, dude. And it's a big opportunity. And man.
So I guess what's the question? Like, how do we get to this stage and what we're doing and where we're at right now with all this stuff?
Yeah.
Well, for those who are listening, when Justin's talking about it and this, what he's referring to is filmmaking. I'm proud to say, and every time I say it, I have pride in it, that I am a award-winning professional documentary filmmaker that has had tremendous, I would say, to me, what I would view as tremendous success on many different levels. I've directed the number one paranormal TV show in the country. I've had number one music videos. Currently, I had the number one most watched documentary on Hulu, number two on iTunes in the United States. But how did I get here? I mean, that's a long answer. But the short thing that I would say, how did I get here? I closed my eyes, opened it back up, and said, let's go. Let's just make this happen, And I've never been one to take no for an answer. A long time ago, I decided that I wanted to have a career in the entertainment business, and I wanted to be a storyteller. Now, I didn't know what, path that would take, because music is my number one passion. As far as my favorite thing in the world to do is to sing and play guitar, just to sit down and sing music and play guitar, which, I am an accomplished musician as well. I've toured, the country and played with some of the biggest bands in the world and opened up for them. And I, write my own music, and I have, music out now. You were there for the start of all that too. So, how did we get here? There is no blueprint. We were small town kids in Iowa that truly had a dream to do it, and they came together. It sounds like almost cliche and cheesy, but it's like that's the truth.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
We got our own distribution now. We have our own audience base worldwide. We've toured to Australia multiple times.
That was a big one. The first time I landed in England with you, filmmaking has taken me to Mexico, Canada, Alaska. I've been to Venice, Italy, Ireland, England, Australia, all over the world. And that was a big goal we had way in the beginning, And Justin and I have been making films now, really, honestly, since we started making films about the age of 12, 13. At least I was. You were a little bit older than me with VHS cameras. Yeah. And you were the guy really pushing and organizing a lot of that. So, if you want to call that the start of it, which I really feel like it was, it's almost 30 years, 25 years or so that we've been doing this, which is pretty crazy. Yeah. Pretty crazy. But we have our own distribution. AGH Television is the company. We started True Play Entertainment, which actually technically owns AGH Television. And HH Television is more than just a film production company. We do have our own worldwide distribution in 41 countries. It's also a tour promotion company. It's a web development design company. It's a graphic design company. It's a merch company. It's a digital distribution platform. It's a lot.
So where this relationship started now, if we flip back the script, you were like 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
Chad used to have long hair, believe it or not.
And, straight up mullet, buddy. Straight up mullet.
I need pictures.
Business up front, party in the back.
It was. Big time 80s stuff.
Big time 80s mullet. Oh, hell
yeah, like heavy metal, like 80s band, like Metallica type.
Fucking dudes. Right.
Yeah. It was a complete switch for me, man, because I was more like R&B type dude, and like Pixies, and I don't know. That was a switch, man. My first concert ever with you guys was
it's Queensryche, wasn't it?
Queensryche
and Suicidal Tendencies.
Yeah, Suicidal Tendencies, man. And
dude,
it was like walking into something I've never. I was like, it was an experience, man. It was a whole culture I was not familiar with.
Love that shit.
But getting to know you and your brother Brian, and that was an experience too. I would say, our whole paranormal thing really started back in that day too, with your house. I mean, I knew the family that lived in there before you guys, the family that lived in there before them. Yeah. All of them swore by the fact that there was crazy stuff happening constantly. And, when I was young, I didn't believe in any of this stuff. I didn't even take them seriously. It was a good looking chick named Emily Blue that lived there. And I was interested in other things paranormal than just talking to her on the phone. But now when I experienced it with you guys, it's funny now how legitimate that pops in your head. And it really started this path of the whole paranormal that we ended up going down.
Yeah.
But as we got into college, what was your... So here you are. You got freedom, man. You got freedom from the slavery and tyranny of your mother and your,
Yeah, look, I had a very strict mother. And for those of you that have seen American Ghost Hunter, it is the autobiographical documentary of my haunted childhood. And the film... highlights my relationship with my mother, and there's obviously, when you watch the movie, there's a lot that's unspoken. We have a turbulent relationship. When I got to college, it was the shackles being released from, it was like every story you hear about, when he gets freedom, he's going to go crazy. Oh, I went fucking crazy. I mean, I went crazy for years, when I tell you that I should be dead, that's a fact. I mean, it is, and it wasn't just like, it was in all things. I had to, stick the hand in the flame. You know what I mean? It's like someone says that's going to burn you. And you look at it and you're like, I got to know if it's going to burn me though. You know what I mean? So it was doing just a lot of things, a lot of adventure, just experiencing freedom. And, I went to school and I chose journalism only because I love storytelling, but I never really thought about it as a career. I don't know why I didn't. I just didn't. But I heard it was a major that had no math or science. And I just despised math and science just because it was boring to me. And I was like, if there's a degree I can get and not have to take those bullshit classes, I'm totally in. And then all the classes were like society this, religion that, and there's stuff I was interested in. I was like, because I've always been interested in people. Like, I've always had a genuine interest in people. And I've always been good at reading people and just trying to, kind of seeing their motivations. So, yeah, I chose to be a journalist. And one day picked up a school newspaper, and it looked just like the regular newspaper. And I remember thinking in my head, this is crazy that this university is making this newspaper that everybody's reading, that more people actually read that than the regular paper. And then someone told me that you can get a job for free working there. You just got to go there and basically sign up, which I couldn't believe. So I went down and signed up. I mean, I got the job that day. They're like, yeah, you can start writing today. Like the following week, I wrote my first sports article, and it was in the paper. And I sent it home to my mom, my dad, and I was like, look, and they were fucking floored. I mean, they were like, your name is in the paper. My son's famous. You know, that they were totally overblown. You know what I mean? And it was crazy. But what I did see, it became the grand experiment for me, because I was like, I saw more than an article. What I saw was, this carries my voice. Like, my voice goes out to people. So what can I do with this? And as you know, I became a bit of a on-campus kind of Howard Sternish type of personality.
Yeah, that's a good way of phrasing it.
Yeah, very, very brazen, very egotistical. A lot of the stuff was really sexually charged stuff. I just basically spoke my mind.
And this was a sports column, folks.
Yeah. That's
in the sports.
Yeah, sports column. And the thing is, it became massively successful. Like there was a huge base for it. And to the point where like student bodies were inviting me to football games to be like their tailgating guest of honor. And I would show up, and they would have, beer, food, and trying to push chicks off on you and stuff. It was crazy,
That was another reason we kind of started going down the same mutual path. We both went into journalism. We both had this media experience. That was one of the reasons we wrote our first movie that we ended up doing. We can talk about it a little bit. Yeah,
well, Justin, when he says, we ended up going down this road, Justin, when I moved, my dad I was from Texas. My dad got burned. For those that haven't seen American Ghost Hunter, he got burned in a bad accident, and he had to move back to a climate that was manageable, because he has tons of scar tissue, and that doesn't sweat, so you got to get to a place that's cool. He couldn't live in Texas anymore. So we wound up in this town in Persia, Iowa, 336 people, and Justin was my older brother's best friend, and I fucking hated Justin. I hated him. I just thought he just was this like Tom Cruise wannabe. And it turns out he loved Top Gun. That's how I would describe Justin to my friends that didn't know him. I would always say he's a fucking Top Gun wannabe. And Justin was the guy that would have the fucking pilot glasses and the hair cocked, and it was just what he was into. At the same time, I was just as fucking bizarre, because I was into like NWA, and I was into metal, and so we didn't get along. I didn't like Justin because he would always tell my brother that he should beat me up. He was always trying to urge my brother to kick my ass. He'd be like, Jed's so fucking mouthy, man. Nobody does anything. You should just fucking stomp him, Brian. And I'm sitting there, and he would say it often when I was in the room. And I'd be like, hey, hello, I'm here, dude. I'm here. You're telling me to kick my ass? I'm in the room, motherfucker. Don't tell him to say that. So, Justin's always kind of done that. He'll just say things about me that suck, that are true about me in front of me, as though I'm not there. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we didn't get along. But, that's also, young man shit, too. As you get into college, like it or not, you do start to mature. You start to just, there's...
Like it or not.
Yeah, you just start to. And about towards the end of what would be my college tenure, I had been in a band that was successful, extremely successful, and I was making a full-time living being a musician, but I knew there was a ticker on it. And I knew I still wanted to remain in the entertainment business. It's a pretty short and simple story. I saw a documentary on Steven Spielberg. It inspired me. I knew Justin had been in the film game because I had heard Brian was basically bragging about the fact that you had got on Twister. And so I knew Justin was in the film game. Twister, Steven Spielberg's film, came to Iowa to shoot. And Justin started out as talked his way into, like a PA, and worked his way up to like locations and shit. And I was impressed by that. I was impressed. And I heard that he was on a national show. He traveled around as a lighting director. So he's the only guy I knew that really made, and that didn't mean he made movies, but he made film. You know what I mean? So I knew I wanted to make a movie. What I knew was, or what I believed was, the social aspects, the people aspects, right? Getting people involved. I could handle that part. Like, I can get people excited. I felt like I could do creative, and I wanted a partner with that too. But I felt like, who's going to make the real fucking movie? Who's going to actually make the movie if I get the money and the people and everything else? And you were a guy that was making the movie. So yeah, I just called Justin. It was funny on your end. It was a very short kind of answer. I was like, hey, Justin, Spielberg just made his movie. He just made them. He started doing, we can do this. So I just, do you want to do this with me? And he was like kind of quiet. It's like, it was just kind of like,
you called me on my lunch break, dude.
Yeah,
I was
like, you
working
had
as
to
a
go,
lighting
yeah.
director. I literally, as we were going into lunch, my phone's ringing. And at that time, we didn't talk all the time.
No, not at all. No, not at all.
So, and I'm thinking, who's this? This is like a 515. So I answered it, and it was you. And so I'm walking out to the grip truck. No, it was my beeper. This is back in the day, people, when they had beepers. Okay,
Yeah.
so my beeper went off. I went to the grip truck because there was a cell phone in the grip truck. It's like one of those old bag phones.
Yeah.
And I dialed the number, called it, and it was Chad. And so we got talking, and I'm sitting there, and it pretty much ate up my whole lunch. And then after a point, he's telling me how he was watching the Spielberg documentary. I'm sitting there listening, going, yeah. I'm thinking, fuck, man, I'm listening my whole lunch, and I'm like, yeah. So what's the point?
Yeah,
What's
the answer
point?
was short and sweet. Yeah.
You're like, well, dude, you always talk about making a movie, man. I was just thinking, he just did it. We should just do it. And it's like, nobody ever put it to me like that, man. And I thought about it, and honestly, I thought about it, and it's just like what you were just saying. There were certain things I know I'm not good at, and I know you're very good at those things.
Wow.
And the odd part is you were 21, I think.
Actually, not even that. Yeah, I had just turned 21. So yeah, I just turned 21 at that time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you matured very early in life, and man, you had a little bit of your mother that just would not take no for an answer and would steamroll. And I saw that's what takes a lot to get various things done in life in general. So we end up going in and making this movie with, and the first driving factor, man, that blew me away was, so here we go. We got the script written.
We wrote a script, and the obvious next step was you get money or you get an actor, and it's every independent filmmaker has always dealt with it. It's the catch-22. It's what came first, the chicken or the egg. You know what I mean? Like, if I had money, I can get an actor. If I had an actor, I can get the money. You know what I mean? So what do you do? So I just figured the actor's going to be easier because that's a person. I can't talk to money. You know what I mean? I could talk to a person. Yeah. So we were actually interviewing a potential director that Justin knew, the director of his National About Your House with Bobby Epshow. And we were in
Chicago.
Chicago, yeah. And to keep the story moving, I'll make it, short and sweet, I guess. But basically, at the time, I was a huge fan of The Real World. It had just come out. It was like in season 3, like on MTV. So it was still in the social experiment days. Long before reality television ruled the networks. There was only one reality show back then, which was The Real World. And I met this guy, David Burns. And was a big fan of the show. Could not believe I just randomly ran into him at a bar. Just thought he was, the fucking cat's ass back then. I was like, this guy's fucking cool. Like, we need to get him in this movie because he told me that he wants to be an actor. So I didn't get his number before he left. Everybody was partying so freaking hard, but I was committed to finding a way to get a hold of him. And this was kind of the first time I kind of maybe realized I was good at this, because I didn't know if I could reach him, but I knew history about him from the show. To make a long story short, I knew he was from the Virginia VMI, Virginia Military Institute. And so I just ended up calling there and asking around until I, got the right guy that basically just said, we can't give our cadets personal numbers or information. You have to do it through the family, So I found this history, found out that David's dad had been in some legal trouble and he wasn't around when Dave was younger. So this tennis coach basically was his father figure, this article said the name of his high school. So I figured, well, maybe the tennis coach is still coaching at the high school. Turns out he was.
And this whole time you're updating me constantly. Dude, I got a hold of his mom. I got a hold of his tennis coach. I'll call you back.
Yeah.
I got, and it was just a constant like, oh, I'm like,
yeah. Well, the adrenaline was huge every step. And basically, long story short, talked to the tennis coach. He let me talk to mom. Mom really put me through the ringer and made sure I was the right guy. And I talked to her for hours on end. And mom eventually put me in touch with David, in which David said he would do the movie, which was the start of the movie actually getting made. The movie itself was our first thing we ever tried to do. I actually wrote and produced that with you. Only became a director because the director I thought, destroyed everything good about what we did. And I was just like, I will never again put pen to paper and create something awesome and have somebody just take a fucking King Kong Bundy size shit on the creative of this. I'm like, I'm never going to do that again. So that's when I became a director. And how'd I become a director? People say, how'd you become a director? I said this, I'm a director. It doesn't require a degree of any kind. It takes no formal training that you have to have. I mean, it really is just like, go for it. What do you got? Who are you? What do you got? What's of value to you? Go out there and make it happen.
I would say like this. Chad is like the Brad Pitt in Fight Club, where he walked up to that Asian dude who was waiting, and he put a gun to his head and said, "What's your name? What did you want to be when you grow up?" Veterinarian. And he's like, "All right, I'm going to come back in 2 weeks. If you're not well on your way to be a veterinarian, I'm going to put a ball in your head." He's like, "Oh."
We used to actually say that about how I said I used to just hate failure, and people, when we were making the film, and we're trying to, people would be like, "Dude, I tried, I just can't do it." I said to Justin, I bet if I put a fucking gun to his head and said, "You got to accomplish this in 1 hour," or that trigger goes off.
Yeah.
Want to bet it gets done?
Yeah. There were many times like that. And, to accomplish anything great, you need somebody putting you in a corner, because there's many times in our life where I worked way more diligently because I knew there is no way out of this but up from here, because we got ourselves into holes at times, and to be honest, there were times you get really angry, going, "God, fucking Chad, talk me into this. God damn it, how do we get out? What do we got to do? What do we got to do?" And the thing is, you get to the end of that rainbow and you think, "Wow, we accomplished all of this," and it's because somebody pushed us into it with the belief that we could.
The unknown is scary.
Yeah.
Period. Scary. It stops most people from attempting to live their dreams. It stops most people from traveling, from seeing the world, anything. And I get it. It's the same reason how the world gets scarier when you turn off the lights. I don't know what's just beyond that area over there. Could be a monster, right? Your mind goes to a negative place. I always had a healthy fear of the unknown. But I guess I had a greater fear of remaining where I was at. That's what terrified me. The idea that I would one day die in Iowa. Like a lot of friends that I had that just had no aspirations to leave. And I'm watching my parents, older friends and older family members, and they're all just, God, they just seem so fucking unhappy. And it was just, I feared, being stationary more than I feared traveling into the unknown.
What we have is a very rich history, man, of a lot of experience, And
with that, Justin, we have time for you to give me one more question. Ask me one more thing that would, the answer would tell people who I am.
Well, I don't know if you had, nobody thinks through their whole life, I don't think, where they're going to go and end up. But did you have a picture in your head of what you wanted to accomplish when we started all of this?
The thing is, yes and no. I mean, yes, in the sense that I'm the worst at being complacent. I never feel like anything is enough. And if I have one regret, I guess, throughout my career is that I've never been one to take time to, smell the roses, so to speak. Like at everything we accomplish, by the time we accomplish it, I've already set the bar to the next thing. So, I've talked about that. There's times where I was on Paranormal State and I was on television and things were happening and it's living out some dreams, man, some stuff I had talked about my whole life. And I don't know that I enjoyed it like I should have, because I was already working on how do we make the next movie? How do we make the next big thing? But the yes part comes in the sense that what I had hoped, Justin, is that, my best friend and I would find a way to forever be doing something we love. I think if you're creating something, always creating, there'll be no retirement. There'll be no let's shut her down. You know what I mean? I don't ever want to retire. I love creating. I love writing music, making movies. I love this podcast. I love all this stuff. Why would I want to do this shit? To me, hell is sitting in a house with nothing to fucking do, 4 walls, and like, what do I do today? You know what I mean? Yeah. That's like, fuck that. You know, I that's suicidal shit, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, to the degree that, you know, we're doing what I love to do, but my goals are just so high. I'm so not ultimately pleased with where we're at. But I think that's healthy because it drives me. It drives me to get where we're going. You know, if you ever get, you know, being comfortable, I think, can be a really negative thing for a lot of people, you know?
Yeah.
So.
It's true. I think, you know, the reality is, too, this podcast, I think we all felt it when we started doing it.
We have accomplished some things.
Yeah.
And we have some real messages to share. And we've, you know, wisdom is what? Knowledge through experience, right? We got a whole shitload of experience, and we've gained a lot of wisdom, you know. It's just like Tom. I love talking to Thomas about his travels. I mean, he is one well-traveled dude, and I could sit for hours and listen to his stories, and I do. I've had 6-hour conversations with Thomas on the phone about his adventures and his travels.
The tops of mountain peaks, the depths of the, I don't know, China or
Papua New Guinea, like, I mean, all this stuff. I mean, he's been to
Antarctica.
The next location. Yeah, the next location we're going to talk about, which is a perfect segue. Having said that, look, man, I hope you guys, you know, enjoyed. I guess this kind of get to know me segment. I'm making a film called Black Sheep that really, really delves into. You know, who I am as a person. And it's kind of a film in response to American Ghost Hunter. American Ghost Hunter was the paranormal kind of history of my life, and it's done very well. And what I didn't expect is that people would want to know more. And so I'm making this film Black Sheep right now, which kind of tells everything but the paranormal side. So, you know, in the future, obviously, you know, you get to learn a little bit more about, I guess, my story and kind of where I come from. And if you enjoyed this, look, we haven't even scratched the surface of what we could talk about. You know, down the road, maybe we will revisit some more, I guess, of my past history. But I think this it's important for people to know who's bringing them, you know, information. And you guys kind of know a little bit about me now as the host of this show. And you will learn a lot more about Justin Holstein and old Tinder Zilberman coming up. A bit more. And both these guys have interesting stories. Steve has a very interesting story as well, to which we're learning more about every day, I feel like. So having said that, we're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be right back with more Paramerican Radio.
Paramerican Radio will be right back after this commercial break with even more dope-ass shit.
In a distant land where magic is as real as the rainbow, in a place where nature exceeds imagination, a paranormal investigative team led by a man named Craig Powell has captured something on film, something that will change the world. I have seen Sir No Face, and soon you will too.
Calek, director of Sir No Face. So the next few weeks we'll be announcing 2 brand new screening events for Sir No Face. To find out what cities we'll be coming to, visit aghtelevision.com and check out our live events and touring page. Thanks so much for your support, and we'll see you soon. And welcome back, everybody, to Paramerican Radio. It is time to go down the rabbit hole. What is going on in the world right now? The bizarre, the mysterious, the unexplained. We bring it to you every podcast. And there's a lot going on right now in the South Pole. Steve Zilberman, what do you know about Rear General Admiral Byrd?
Admiral Byrd was an explorer. He was America's Indiana Jones. I know that he was heavily interested in Antarctica, and for a very good reason. He's made expeditions there.
I'm fucking floored right now. You actually know shit about Byrd? I thought I was going to stoop him, and lead the way. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
he's led expeditions there, and he went there. He discovered that there was a lot more than meets the eye, and he took a couple thousand footmen, a fleet of ships. He took a whole what are those big carriers?
4,700 men, 13 warships, 33 aircraft, carriers, and a submarine.
Yeah.
And Operation High Jump.
Yep.
It's a military. But please go on.
Yeah.
I'm impressed here,
Yeah.
Steve.
Yeah. He took everyone there and basically got demolished, got destroyed, and he came back, and I don't know if it was like the next day, the next week, whatever, but
By whom? Got destroyed.
It's the debate. It's the debate.
It is the debate, but all we know is that soon after that, the world came together, the UN, and they signed a treaty that there was no nation to put their bases in Antarctica.
There could be no military bases. Yeah.
Right. And to this day, you can't just buy a plane ticket and fly to Antarctica and go explore or whatever. There's just certain spots that you could go to, and that's it.
And what was crazy about it is how quickly all the nations came together, all agreed on everything, and just signed it right away. Now, listen, this story goes all over the place, and it's much debated. What we know factually is that Operation High Jump was a real thing. It was like his fourth visit, I think, down to the South Pole. He did take a military presence in there. Supposedly, there was a 20-minute battle that took place in which saucers appeared out of the water, and planes could not even get off the decks of the carriers. We lost the destroyer ship, the Murdoch, down there. 68 men died on that ship. Now, supposedly, there's a diary that's been found, and the excerpts are from Byrd, in which he claimed all kinds of crazy shit, like that there was basically a hole and there was an inner earth and people who live in this inner earth. But people debate whether they claim they don't know if this diary is real or not. But what we do know is that he took a military mission in, and he came back butthurt because he got smacked around by something. And we know this treaty was signed. And we do know that he did a live interview in which he claimed that just beyond the pole was a land as big as America that had never been touched by human hands, had never been seen.
But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America.
Because of this, there's been nothing but magic and mystique surrounding the South Pole for a long time. Now, the reason I bring this story up, it's not to debate whether or not Admiral Byrd did or did not find Middle Earth, or whether or not the world is flat and he hit the firmament or anything like that. And we'll have episodes where we get into flat Earth, and we'll have episodes where we get into all this stuff. But what is super interesting, I'm going to go to my computer here for those of you that are following us on and watching this on our YouTube site, which is www.youtube.com/AGHChad. You can see what I'm about to show Justin and Steve here. And for those of you listening, I urge you to go check out the video version of what we're doing. Recently, and this was actually about 3 months ago, there was this, as you guys can see, a perfectly shaped pyramid, what appears to be a pyramid structure. When I first saw this video, I thought, well, shit, that could be Photoshopped so easy. And then more pictures started coming out of, people approaching, this thing. This photo, for those that are listening, there's two men that are on the side of this mountain and down into Antarctica. You can see this pyramid. Look how sharp that angle is and how perfect that is. And the reason this is fascinating to me is the pyramids have always been fascinating to me, because if you know anything about ancient astronaut theory, what ancient astronaut theory is, even if you've never heard of it, it's basically a theory that says aliens came to Earth and that we, human beings, are hybrids. We were created by aliens to basically mine the Earth of its, of its natural resources. And if you look around the Earth, there's pyramids that popped up on different continents around the same exact time, where supposedly they had no connecting fiber. Nobody in Mexico was talking to, anybody in Egypt, but yet they both started building pyramids at the same time, the same shape, all aligning with astronomy and all this stuff. So now we've been told our whole life, there's nothing down there on the South Pole. It's so cold, nothing can live down there but penguins. And yet we have this. What is this? What is this? What is this, Justin? What do you think this is?
Well, it's hard judging. The thing is, at some point I would almost want to ask, and maybe we could just throw it out there that anybody who's listening that's a geologist that is watching this, they could give us some kind of idea. I mean, my only thought I threw out was that maybe it's because it's on the South Pole, and there's a lot of electromagnetic determinants on how things form, maybe potentially because it's a metallic substance that's in this rock that I don't know. I'm literally throwing it out there that if maybe somebody goes to aghTelevision.com and hits us on the contact area and just throws and says, you know what, I have an idea here. I'm a lifelong geologist or somebody who studies this kind of stuff. I'd like to hear what their opinions would be with it, because it obviously looks like something that shouldn't be there. And I think anybody would identify that. And those are the Google Earth images.
Well, this is what's crazy. Okay, well, I'm getting the part 2 of this story now. There's 3 parts to it. So this is the original Google Earth topographical photo of the pyramid I just showed you. 2 days ago, another one was discovered right here, which is 3.4 miles away from this one. Now, what's kind of crazy about this is, again, look at this one, flat, just flat land. And out of the blue, bloop. This looks extremely man-made because, again, it's not like it's covered by mountain. And even if you go back and look to the first one that was captured here, look, these are like the edge of what appears to be a mountain range, right? And then out of the blue, again, there's this, thing here that appears to be a perfect triangle. A perfect pyramid, I mean. Which kind of begs the question, has there been past life that we're creating pyramids, on the South Pole? I would love to find out if these lined up astrologically the same way the other ones do, which we don't know that yet. There are expeditions that are being planned right now to go really dig into what this is, but they've got to get clearance to, get there. Because, again, the South Pole is highly regulated. So they just don't let anybody just go exploring around there. But another photo was actually captured and discovered by Tyler. Okay, so this is a distant photo. And this was, again, captured on Google Earth. Okay, so this is a topographical shot. On this medium shot here, you see, this kind of topographical area here of all these, jagged edges and what appears to be snow, right? And then a light source right here. That appears to be coming out of a cave or under a cave or something's lighting this up. And then if you look right here, guys, this appears to be absolutely man-made. For those of you listening, it appears like a massive disc-shaped UFO is chilling. Just underneath a top, some kind of a canopy cover from a cave.
Yeah.
And here's an even closer shot of it where you can actually see there's some kind of design on top of this saucer.
Or some kind of inner workings. But the big thing is it has a perfectly spaced ridge that goes around on this circle. You can say man-made or you can just say intelligently made, because there would be other, ideas on. There's a lot of information out there, and it'd be impossible to delve into all of it. But as far as the ancient aliens, there's so many different doors to open to parse all that out. But
I agree, so many different. But this is fantastic in the sense that this is at the very least debatable at what this is. So what the fuck is going on in the South Pole where they're finding pyramids are popping up? And now, once you know what it is that you're looking at, this just juts out at you like, holy cow, that's right there, you know? And if you ever look at a lot of the moon, like the aerial photos, topographic photos of the moon, it's amazing how much is in sight, but you don't know because we don't look at that angle.
Yeah.
Like, and it's black and white, so we don't look at those angles. We don't know we don't know what the world looks like from the top. You know what I mean? But the people that do can point out stuff left and right that they see. You know, this appears to me to be man-made. This appears, and again, this is Google Earth. You know, this is Google Earth. So shout out to, you know, Tyler and security team. What a great capture. What a great thing, you know, to discuss. I think more than anything, the reason I wanted to talk about this finding specifically, what this piece kind of like sums up to me is over and over again, you know, we see that science just has it wrong. You know, mankind's only 6,000 years old, only 60,000 years old, it's 100,000 years old. And then, you know, about the coast of Japan, they find like a 400,000-year-old city in the water at the bottom of an ocean that they know nothing about. You know what I mean? So it's like, wow. So 400,000 years ago, there was a complete society of people. Where'd they go? I don't know.
I think it's just the pursuit of truth. Like any pursuit, there are individuals in it that want to be know-it-alls. So those individuals you could point at and say they got it wrong. Mm-hmm. There are other scientists who would go, listen, that's all science is a constant, you know, throwing away of the old ideas because we've come upon new evidence that disproves this, and now we're moving in this direction, right?
Right.
And, you know, they're considered fringe science initially until that their ideas are more well accepted until the point, you know, now that they're predominantly teaching string theory through most universities in the world. Most people don't even know what that is. And if they knew what it was, it would blow their mind. You know?
Yeah. No, I look, I think it's a killer piece. I think it's something that, you know, for those of you listening, you know, please go to www.youtube.com/AGHChad. The address and links will also be at aghtelevision.com. Make it easy for you to subscribe there. You can see exactly what we're talking about because this is, you know, really debatable stuff, and I would love to hear what you guys think.
And all this will be on Paramericanradio.com.
Absolutely.
All links, all the information you need. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right, which just launched as well, ParamericanRadio.com. And you know, what you're going to find on this show is that we are not claiming at all to be know-it-alls. I mean, the beauty of this stuff is that you can debate it. You can guess, you know. We want to know what you guys think. You've heard our thoughts. You know, let us know what you guys ultimately think, because this was pretty much the biggest story this week. Having said that, we're going to hit another commercial break here really quick. When we come back, we're going to have recent events, movie reviews, and fan questions to wrap it up.
Paramerican Radio will be right back after this commercial break with even more dope-ass shit.
In 1984, a Siberian geological group of scientists began drilling a well into the grounds of Russia's Kola Peninsula. After digging nearly 9 miles deep, the drill bit began to spin wildly out of control, as though it had entered a hollow region in the Earth's crust. After retrieving the bit, scientists lowered a temperature gauge and an audio recorder into the bottom of the well. Although the estimated temperature of gases in the ground at 9 miles were thought to be 120 degrees, scientists were shocked that the gauge returned a reading in excess of 2,000 degrees. But nothing could have prepared them for the sounds returned by the audio recorder. Stairway to Hell.
Chad Calek's Stairway to Hell documentary, along with 15 additional Calek documentaries, are all available on DVD right now at aghtelevision.com.
All right, everybody, we are back with recent events. And, you know, this first one, guys, I got to tell you, I am fascinated that this is a story that everybody is following. because it honestly blows my mind that this became a story. There was a time in our lives where this type of story could not exist, and I am talking about the Soulja Boy Chris Brown beef. Hosting, are you familiar with what this is?
You know, I am, just because you kind of told me about it. I'm interested in what materialized out of all of it. That's what's fascinating to me. But part of this is like, you know, I don't know. You get a little older and you see children acting like children.
I'll tell you what's fascinating to me about it, Justin. Everything. It has no redeeming social value whatsoever. I totally get that. But like, it is such a sign of our times. You know, it's just how things have changed. Just like when I see Steve, you know, walk into my place or anywhere, like Steve doesn't leave his home without his fucking laptop. It's just, you're the millennial generation. That's what you do. That's his life now. He's connected. He's plugged in 24/7. Steve is plugged in. You know, there's no leave that shit at home. No. Well, it just, and the reason this happens is because the world has moved to that where everything that people do, they become connected to the world. And the world starts caring about what would otherwise be mundane actions, like an argument between two rappers. How this starts out is Chris Brown has an ex-girlfriend in which Soulja Boy simply likes her photo. That's it. Chris Brown calls him up, says, listen, man, don't be liking my ex-girl's photo. Big Soulja says, fuck you, I'll bitch slap you. And the Tinder war starts, and Chris Brown's like, you know, you're a bad person because you smoke, you snort coke, and I only sip lean, you know, because I'm a real gangster. And the argument starts, who's real hood? Who's really hood and who's not hood? Who's a real blood and who's not a real blood? Because they both say that they're Pyru. So out of the blue, Soulja shows up, and here's the video of him in Compton, which it later came out afterwards that he hired all these guys to basically run security for him as he walked down the street in Compton. But what's funny about this video is he's walking down acting like all these guys are his homies. And hey, look, because Fruit Town is one of the gang names. Fruit Town, the area is. So he's like, you know, one of their call signs would just go Fruits. That's like their thing. So he's walking down kind of doing this, and he comes upon a real blood, and he approaches him at the end of this video and kind of watch what happens.
I'm gonna force myself to watch.
Funk Phil. Y'all know what the fuck going on, man. Fruit Town Power. We the real ones too. We the real ones. Who ain't from Fruits? Who ain't from Fruit Town? I'm walking through Bompton right now. I'm in my hood right now, nigga. Nigga. Fuck Chris Brown talking about, nigga. Fuck Chris Brown, nigga.
By the way, he's from Atlanta.
Yeah.
So I don't even get this. He's from Atlanta, so.
Fuck Chris Brown, nigga. And Big Soulja ain't gonna catch no fame because I'm worth too many M's, you dig? Hey, what's going on, man? They say Soulja ain't from the hood. Hey, they say Soulja ain't from the hood. Get off me, though. Oh, man, that's like me, though. What's happening? Hold on.
So basically what happens is the guy throws his arm off and says, get away from me, blah, blah, blah. Soulja throws his phone down, tucks his chain in, like, I'll move forward. And they get between him and break it all up. They're not going to do it. And the back and forth, you know, starts, you know, between Chris Brown and him, that I'm going to fuck you up, I'm going to fuck you up. Out of the blue, here comes 50 Cent in all this. 50 Cent's making fun of both of them. 50 Cent's a king of making fun of people on video. And 50 gets Floyd Mayweather involved. Next thing you know, Floyd Mayweather is training Soulja Boy. Mike Tyson is now training Chris Brown. The money team has now made this a real pay-per-view fight that's actually going to happen.
I'm pulling for Team Tyson, man.
It's just amazing to me that something this ignorant can come to light and make this much money in our world today because people are connected, because they just want to know what's happening. It's just amazing. It kind of like shows like the darkest side of society. You know what I mean? That we give a shit about like what this is. And let's not forget, the following day after this video came out, they did an interview, or a local filmmaker did an interview with real like Pyru, like Bloods, that were like, listen, man, our goal is to get out of here. You know what I mean? Like, no one wants to be here, man. You think we want to be, you know, scared of dying? And like I was like, these guys are like wealthy dudes that are like promoting how they
Who's
it's like
more hood.
right. Who's
Yeah.
more hood? I mean, it's just sad. Yeah, it's like the worst. Like it's like the worst common denominator of fucking shit. But how fascinating? And this is kind of the only question is, I mean, how fascinating is it that in our world today that this is even possible? I mean, that anybody would give a shit enough to care that this becomes a pay-per-view event.
Does the fall of the Roman Empire do when gladiators became out to entertain people, to distract them from the details of what is actually going on?
Mind-blowing stuff, dude. It just shows you where technology's at. And now, moving forward with technology, my favorite actor in the world, my favorite, I think, human being as far as Hollywood goes in the world, Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf is at it again. Now, listen, Trump is a headline-making individual. Obviously, I said I don't want, and I'm not going to let this show become like, some political tirade for or against Trump. The bottom line is people have, their reasons for voting, and a lot of people voted for Trump, and they're not stupid for doing it. And everybody in Hollywood thinks that everybody who voted for Trump is dumb. I don't think that's the case at all. I think they just wanted change. So what I wanted to do on this show is really just focus not so much on Trump, but on the response of humans, and the response of mankind, the response of Americans, and how they're kind of dealing with Trump, kind of taking over. Shia did something interesting again with technology. In New York City, he put a live stream that's obviously protected and bolted in with "He will not divide us," those words written above it, in which people are coming up to the live stream, and they're pretty much just saying, "He will not divide us. He will not divide us," to the live stream. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't think that Shia meant for people to be going up and saying it monotonously over and over again. I think that it was just meant to, go up and say, "Yo, he will not divide us," and move on, So what happened is crowds started building around it, and a guy that was supposedly a white supremacist came up and was trying to get FaceTime, was kind of acting the fool, and this is what Shia did.
He will not divide us. Must secure the existence of the white people. He will not divide us. 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 Dude, your beat tastes like fucking cheese. He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us.
So so he just gets in his face, the whole time, and this, obviously made news, and I don't understand why. But my question to you guys is, what do you think of this? What do you think of this type of protest, and not only this type, the artistic protest, but what do you think of this specific protest? What are your thoughts on this?
They capture headlines, man, because it's just a simple little thing. I always put it back to the thing. When I post on Facebook what I think to be a very well thought out, intelligent, nobody responds, man. But if I say, I love olives, it blows up and everybody wants to jump in on the conversation. So if you make it simple and accessible, like a little, what I consider just, I would never do that, dude. I don't know. Would you want to go, dude, I want to go over to the street. We will not divide us. Now, I'm not saying Shia shouldn't have done that. I'm sure he has his reasons.
Well, I'll give you my thoughts in a second. I'm just interested to hear your thoughts and what you think of it.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, it's funny that he's doing exactly what it's dividing them, right? They're all dividing. And it's like, I don't know if his point is you will not divide me and my people of what we think, if that's his point. Right. And if it is, then
that's what it appears to be. What are your thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, it looks almost cultish to me, honestly. It really does. And like you said, I think it's crazy that, of course, if you put a camera there with people that have such strong opinions about something, the other side is going to come. And what happens when one person has really strong thoughts about something and someone else, has the exact opposite? It's going to clash. And I'm really curious, actually, the further this draws out, how much more events like this are going to happen. You know, are there going to be like street fights, gang fights? You know, I think the police eventually are going to end up just closing off the area because it's like a breeding ground for
problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, listen, in general, I went to the live feed and watched it. And when I went there was like all these people. And one of them had like a heart written on his hand. And they were standing like this. And there was like a dozen of them. They were all just going, "He will not divide us." It looked fucking cultish, devilish. "He will not divide us." And they're all going, "He will not divide us." Like, it is weird. What I don't like about this in general is, you know, Shy, when you put something out there, you're asking people to share their thoughts. You're not saying, "Come think how I want you to think." So, you know, this individual shows up and wants some FaceTime, which of course he does, and Shy doesn't like his thoughts. And look, Shy starts bullying him. He's bullying him right there, you know? And Shy kind of sized him up to see first, and then he started bullying him. I love Shia. I don't like this.
My most favorite thing about Shia he's ever done is that comedy thing that people mix to him going on his rant, you know, when they just did it in various instances where he's yelling behind a screen door.
Oh, yeah.
And he's Star Wars. Just do it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I love Shia. I love the artistic side of him. I'm going to review one of his movies coming up here. But I don't like this. I love protests. I love artistic protests, especially musical protests. You know, I don't like this. And I hate to say that because I want to support Shia on this, but I just don't. I feel like you're begging for fistfights to break out and people to fuck people up over this stuff. You know, when it comes to politics, it's like religion, man. People don't play. Like, they're fucking, I know you are. Like, people are devout about how they feel. Anyways, moving forwards, I think this is pretty cool, too. Mel Gibson appears to be back. His film Hacksaw Ridge was just nominated for the Academy Awards for Best Motion Picture, along with Arrival, which I thought was brilliant. Yeah. Fences, Hell or High Water, Hidden Figures, La La Land, Lion, Manchester by the Sea, and Moonlight. You know, regardless as to whether or not Hacksaw Ridge wins, what a huge comeback. I mean, Mel Gibson was dead as dead can be in the water. If you don't know or remember what happened, essentially, you know, he got drunk and he started spouting off a ton of anti-Semitic, lingo. Basically, had outside of Moon Shadows, a well-known bar in Malibu that you pass. Laura passes it every day on the way to school. He got drunk and started, just spewing a bunch of anti-Semitic racial shit. And then later on, he had, these arguments with his girl came out that she recorded in which he was dropping N-bombs. I mean, it was just bad. It was bad. And he was just blackballed. And that was it. Nobody would work with him. Nobody would hire him. Nobody would touch his films. Agents dropped him. Managers dropped him. Done. And how he's come all the way back is impressive because it's almost like making it twice. You know what I mean? Like you made it and then they were done with you and you still found a way to crawl back into it again. Have you guys seen Hacksaw Ridge?
I still haven't, no. I saw the previews, and the odd part is before I knew it won awards and stuff, it just seemed to me to be, just because of the way it's lit and presented, it almost just seemed to be like an after-school special to me, Like, oh, that doesn't look that good. And then it won all these awards.
But it's not, yeah. Well, and the thing, look, if you look at historically when it comes to, like, epic-sized films, few do it better than Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson has, really kind of, mastered that art of big pictures. Yeah.
Braveheart, man. Boom.
Braveheart. It's one of the best films of all time. It really is. So I just think it's cool because, look, I don't think it's cool to spout off anti-Semitic or racial shit at all. I mean, obviously that's horrible. But I also truly believe if somebody feels bad about something and they truly apply, there should be a way back. If we all had to, permanently for the rest of our life pay for our sins and the bad choices we've made and the stupid shit we've said, I mean, there are things that you say privately things that, you say at different times in your life where you're not as, as cued into the social issues as you are at other times of your life. It just sucks that a guy's entire career should be over because he had this, outrage. Now, if he wasn't sorry about it and that was his thoughts and he stood by, then yeah, fuck him. Get him the fuck out of here, But, from what I understand, he's doing press and stuff right now, and he's like doing the whole, like nothing's off limits. You can ask anything you want. You know what I mean? Like he's literally facing the music. Like, bring it. I'm ready to get this on. You know what I mean?
Has he ever made a public apology?
He did. He did it through statements, though. He didn't do it like, because basically people wanted to fucking kill him, But yeah, no, he has on a couple separate occasions. He did a phoner. He phoned in once too and was like, "Hey, I'm fucking sorry,
Yeah.
These are supposed to be private moments, and
right.
I was getting drunk at a bar on my own time, and someone stuck.
It's not only that,
and then the girl, stole their. I mean, she recorded their private conversation.
A lot of times, people are just from their environment in which they grew, that forms their outlook, right? So there are black people that hate white people, and with good reason, from their situation of where they came from and what happened to them, right? Just like anybody has certain ways they look at other races or religious groups, and the Muslims, the Sunni, the Shia. I mean, from the outward perspective, you could look in and say it's all very dumb, but when people are at their weakest moments, bad stuff comes out, man. And a lot of people have been at weak moments that they don't like talking about later, and that wasn't something Mel Gibson would ever put out there, man. But you had some lady who thought it was cool to record it and put it out on the internet, and her choice.
Which is fucked up. It's wrong. And that part of it, it's like it's a private conversation. I would have to know her motivations for doing it. If her motivations were like racism and, is wrong, people need, and this guy, if Mel Gibson was out there actively being a fucking racist and like, stopping, not hiring certain people on his film crews because then I would say, expose his ass. You know what I mean? But it's hard to know when it's personal information. I just think there should be a way back. And from what it sounds like, the guy is eating crow, did his time, and I was ready to come back in.
He ate a lot of crow. How many movies did he make where he's just a bad guy getting back, He just looks like a burnout, angry guy, The
last time I saw where he was the dad, did you see that one? Big old burly beard, did time did you see that one?
Oh, yeah, it was a good one.
Bloodfather?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's so funny that you liked it because I watched it. It was like a $3.99er. I ran it late at night. And it looked good, and I watched the trailer, and the bad guys, the hitmen from the cartel.
Right.
I was like, whoa, that dude looks brutal.
You know what's funny? I
watched it, loved it.
I would have never watched it. Dana loves movies like that. I always give her crap going, I like these like European films. I'm always going to push into these weird things. And Dana just wants to watch the Rocky type films, an action flick with Mel Gibson. You know what I mean?
He just played a great, he does intense so well. You forget how good of an actor he is too. That intensity thing he has is just fucking badass, man. And Bloodfather, I'm giving a review right now. If you guys haven't seen it out there, check it out. It's probably in your 99-cent bin right now for rentals, but it's just so dope. Have you seen this?
No, I haven't.
It's so dope. Yeah, you got to check it out. It's really, really good. Really good. Really good. Which brings us to movie reviews. Back to Shia. Have you guys seen, either one of you, have you guys seen American Honey?
No.
Okay. I heard about American Honey a while ago. I'm going to IMDb it right now. Obviously Shia, I don't know if you guys, saw this or not, but he got in a lot of trouble for doing, he did one interview where he just really went off on Spielberg. What he said was, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he did use like these exact words. He basically said, when I met Spielberg, I had a big, picture in my head of who he was. And he goes, and I was just completely let down. I thought an artist and a director was coming to set. And what I learned is that Steven's a business more than he is an artist. And he said, basically he did not enjoy doing his films. And it made him want to run from Hollywood, which he has now. and work with creative guys like Lars von Trier and guys like that. And right here is Andrea Arnold. She started making her name with different things that are huge, more or less, on like the straight, a lot of European stuff, but like straight to digital, like, type of shit. Nothing big and theatrical, you know what I mean? So I heard out of the blue Shia was doing this film, and it was supposed to be nearly 3 hours long. And I was like, 3 hours long? And I watched the trailer, and there wasn't much to it besides Shia kind of driving around with this girl, seemingly falling in love with her, and then becoming violent as fuck with a gun. What's really cool when you watch the movie, the casting is unbelievable, because whoever the casting director was and her as a director, you know how Alexander Payne in Omaha, you know how he casts everybody as real as fuck?
Yeah.
He'll get the stars, and then everybody else are like his buddies and shit in Omaha. And he lights everything just drab and shit on purpose. It's kind of like American Honey. Like, they got Shia and they got the main girl, Sasha Lane. Yeah. Well, this film is very much like that. It's the story of this girl who basically, doesn't really know who her mother or father is. At least that's how I took it. And she gets in a situation where she's essentially raising the children of another couple that's just like kind of selfish and, kind of fucked up. And she just kind of realizes that her life is over. If she's going to do that forever, she's going to die doing that. She's got to get out of Dodge. She takes the kids to, their parents and pretty much just say, I'm out late, and Ellery runs away, grabs a cab, and she winds up, somehow meeting up with Shia and this group. Because this girl needs money. Basically, this old school like door-to-door salesman for magazines and shit. Back in the day, they did that shit. It's one of those groups. So she falls into like this magazine sales group in which Shia is the top seller. He's like the biggest con man at all. And the girl that runs this kind of ring, she is in a relationship with Shia. So Shia is falling in a relationship for this new girl. So obviously the big kahuna and the girl now have issues and they're fighting. And what you see by the end of it, it's really just a story about finding your way. And sometimes you just have to risk everything and you got to get burned to know what's right for you and what isn't. That's ultimately what the film's about. But the way it's done so incredibly real. Like I said, if you and I hung out, it's not like every second of the day we'd be talking. Like I'd be like, hey, Justin, hey, what's up, Chad? Want to do this? No. Okay. Hey, Justin, you want to do? You know what I mean? Like there's space, there's time, it's patient. Like American Honey is patient. When you feel like you're hanging out with real people when you watch it. At times, it can be annoying. It's not without flaw, but yeah, that's how I would describe it. So if you want to see a good, and I learned basically they shot the whole film. And you know how rare this is, in chronological order. Wow. They shot the film as the film went. And they had like Shia walk up to strangers' doors and knocking on it and shit. So you could tell it's his kind of project and he would love to do it just because the experiment of doing it. So having said that, guys, American Honey, I truly enjoyed it. It is my kind of winner of the week. And with that, let's jump right into fan questions before we wrap it up. Our first fan question comes from Kelvin from Lincoln, Nebraska, who asks, are there going to be any more tour dates this year for Sir No Face? And when will it be released? For those of you that don't know what Sir No Face is, it is my latest paranormal documentary about the trials and tribulations of WSPR, the West Sydney Paranormal Research Team, and a government investigation they did in Australia that truly captured what I believe to be defining evidence that proves the existence of ghosts. We've done 17 U.S. tour dates and 3 in Australia?
Yeah.
And pretty much most of them have been completely sold out. It's a big deal for us. It's our big deal film right now. It's our latest, my latest documentary. Probably going to be my last paranormal documentary. We are going to do more tour dates. We're going to have at least 25 more coming up in the U.S. and about 8 coming up in Australia. But it will be more towards late summer before those dates are actually. Before we actually go back out on tour again in the U.S. And then probably, like next, I would say fall probably. Or what I'm always wrong with this. What fall comes after summer, right? Summer, fall, right?
Well, yeah, spring, summer, fall, winter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, see, I had it right then. So there you go. I was like getting jacked up with the.
You know why? Because you've been living in California.
I
for
know.
and
Dude,
there
that's
is
the
no
truth.
seasons.
There isn't. It's almost all the same.
Yeah.
So I guess my point that I'm making here is that we will be doing more U.S. tour dates in the summer, and in the fall we will be back over to Australia. So I hope to see you there, Kelvin. And as far as when will it be released? It will be released wide at the end of the year of 2017 through AGH Televisions. Again, I'm proud to announce we have our own distribution, so it will be again released at the end of 2017. On to Danny, as in DANI, from Queens, New York, asks, what is the best and worst thing about touring? This is an easy one for me to answer. I've answered it a million times at speaking events. The best and the worst thing about touring, the people you tour with. I love them, and you'll learn to hate them on the road. It's just part of being on the road. You can absolutely love somebody to death and want to fucking kill them. And touring basically teaches you this. And I'll kick it around to these guys and get their response as well. Like I said, that's my response. Justin, what's the best and worst thing about touring?
Well, first I would comment that the entertainment industry in general is very much like that, where you develop very deep relationships with people because you've gone through a lot of stuff. It's the same reason why old war buddies go and have coffee until they die, because they've gone through something that nobody else went through, you know? So it does develop very deep relationships like that. But I would say it's the same thing. I know the smoking, I've always been excited about the idea of you quitting smoking, because that to me was always a big bother, trying to sleep at night and stuff. But yeah, I love people everywhere, man. Places aren't so much cool to me, so more as the people are. The people are always fascinating to me, and it's always the oddest places you find some of the most interesting people.
Yeah.
Steve?
Yeah, well, easy for me as well. The best part is, I think, being in a new place every single day. I've said it before, I'm a gypsy at heart, and I'm always moving forward. I hate staying still. And the worst part is, what a lot of people don't realize is the amount of work that goes into a tour from morning to night. I mean, sometimes we get out midnight.
I second that. Yeah, it's way more work than people think. People think it's just a party.
Yeah, right?
They do. They totally think it's a party.
No, it's just straight work. And my role in tours, I'm making 3+ videos a day. So, and to make 3 videos a day, you constantly need content. I always have to be out there filming. And
then you got to balance the time.
Right.
Yeah. No, I get it. No, those are good answers. Big time. We have 2 more here. Kendra from Montreal, Canada says, is there ever a time where you don't want to talk to fans? Look, in all the years that I've been doing things that are, I guess, public, whether it be, television, or films, I can only think of a couple times where I didn't want to talk to a fan. And they were like, once I was in a fight with my wife, you know what I mean? And someone was, standing there like nudging you with a pen as you're like clearly upset, you know what I mean? And another time I was in the bathroom and a guy was like, I'm like, pissing. I looked over my shoulder, he's like, big fan, man. Like as I'm like pissing, you know what I mean? And that was during Paranormal State as well, too. It's our fans, I think, because we, again, I think are very out there about who we are. I think they see us kind of as real people and not anything, wacky or superstar-ish. So usually our fans they'll just say something really cool, like, hey, really love Ghost Hunter. You know what I mean? So no, there's no time that I can think of a set time that I like hate to talk to fans. But like anybody else, there's days where you're tired and you just don't want to talk to anybody. You don't want to talk to fans. You don't want to talk to your wife. You want to talk to your best friend. You don't want to talk to anybody. But none of us have also experienced fandom to the degree that's like Brad Pitt or some shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's always been, on what I call an underground level. You know what I mean? Where I can go to any mall in the country and get spotted, but no one's going to stop me from going anywhere. You know what I mean? Or overrush me. So I assume that sentiment kind of carries for you guys. If people notice your work, is there ever a time that you don't want to be? Steve, you had a fan recently did something pretty crazy, right?
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, it was wild. So she was just a fan of my work. And she would, start casually messaging me, and then she said she sent an email. I never got it, but she said, you know what? I'm going to make a video to sum up my email. And she made a 7-minute video about just ranting about how she likes my work and she's going to do this and do that. But I mean, that's cool. But the setting and where she was like in a dark basement dungeon. I don't know. With
That's
just
so creepy.
one light just over her.
So creepy.
As soon as I clicked on it and I saw that, I almost turned it off. I was like, okay, I don't want to see what she's about to do. You know?
She turns around and goes, "He will not divide us. He will not divide us."
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And the last question, I think it's a fun one, but an easy one to answer. Kevin, we had Kelvin earlier and Kevin now from St. Louis asks, how hard is it to stay out of trouble while being on tour? As a 40-year-old man with, who's married and has a daughter and has a business and companies, pretty easy to stay out of trouble for the most part. My wild days are past me for the most part. It doesn't mean I don't like to have a good time. But I don't know. To me, like a good time is like a great movie, you know what I mean? A friend or two, some good pizza, like that's chill. Like I'm not at that stage, where I used to be, so where it's like, good time, fuck that. That's, 2 lines of blow and 3 hookers, you know what I mean? Like it's not my world, you know what I mean? So
I think that's both of us in the sense that's why it's funny sometimes with having young dudes like Steve around, where it's
that's why we live through your Tinder habits vicariously. Yeah. No, I'm with you. It's just where we're at. It's about life and times for me right now. I'm at that place in life. But obviously for you, Steve, your goal when you wake up each day is to fuck as many people as you can, right? Is that pretty much your goal?
Pretty much. I mean, I run into some trouble from that from time to time.
No, I could, Steve is he's a hard worker. I'm trying to get Steve to this place where he isn't an occasional hard worker. Steve hasn't got to that point yet where he realizes that it's always got to be maximum effort, automatic. And he hasn't gotten there yet because he still cares about things like Tinder. And that kind of pulls away his focus a little bit. I get it. We're working with them. We'll get in there. Having said that, much love, all the best for Justin Holstein, for Steve Tinder Zilberman. We are out of here. We will see you guys soon.
See you guys.
Peace.